will begin with the physics of the universal individuality. Keep in mind, again, that individuality and its becoming is the main theme of physics, indeed of the whole science of nature. Hegel observes that matter has individuality only insofar as it is determined and determines itself within itself, and further, that matter wrests itself free from gravity and will thus now begin to manifest itself. Also important is that by universal individuality, Hegel means the earth. In fact, the first subsection here on the free physical bodies and qualities ends with the earth. That is the universal individual, which will be the subject and theme of the rest of the science of nature, which will just deduce, deepen, and specify the earth's remaining inorganic and organic determinations, culminating in the animal organism, the soul, and subject. Okay then, so the physics of universal individuality has three parts. A, the free physical bodies and qualities. B, the earth's elements. And C, the process of the elements, or meteorology. So, the free physical bodies, as we now know, are the sun, moon and comet, and the earth, or planet. And matter, in its first qualified state, and corresponding to the identity of the logic of essence, is light, which correlates with the sun. Important is that light is a form of matter. Indeed, light is the, quote, self-contained totality of matter. It is the, quote, pure existent force of space filling. Its being is absolute velocity, contra Einstein, a pure materiality which is everywhere present, end quote. As for the sun, Hegel says that the sun is eternal and had no beginning, contra the theories of Laplace and Kant and others, which is true also of the earth, which is due to the necessity of the concept and its three moments. In Hegel's words, page 89, Miller, quote, this body, the sun, is the primordial uncreated light, which does not arise from the conditions of finite existence, but immediately is, end quote. And at page 280, quote, the creation of the earth is eternal. It is not an event which once happened. It is an eternal generation, for the infinite creative power of the idea is a perennial activity. Next, again in accord with the concept, we have the bodies of opposition, correlated with their qualitative state or quality, namely the lunar body or moon and rigidity, and the cometary body or comet and dissolution, neutrality, or fluidity. And lastly, the body of individuality, or logically, ground, namely the earth or planet, which, as the third, is totality and contains the other moments within itself. The earth's qualitative state being simply earthiness. As we said, from now on, we will be occupied only with the earth and its differences. As Hegel says, quote, what follows is nothing but the explication of this individuality, i.e. the subject. What is truly remarkable is that Hegel seems to indicate in the following that the Earth is the centerpiece of the entire cosmos or universe, against Copernicus and today's scientists, and in agreement with the Bible. Quote, "The planet is the veritable prius. The sun is the servant of the planet, and sun, moon, comets, and stars are mere conditions of the earth, or the earth's adornments. The sun has therefore not produced the planet, nor thrown it off. On the contrary, the whole solar system exists together. If there is a question of pride of place, we must give the place of honor to the earth we live on. We have now come to stand on the earth as our home, and not only our physical home, but the home of spirit too." End quote. Also see paragraph 549 for more. In section B, the Earth's elements, Hegel is in complete agreement with the Greeks in holding that everything in the earth is derived from only 4 elements: air, fire, water, and earth. This, contra today's scientists, whose so-called elements are not truly elements, as they are abstractions of the 4 elements, which are based again on the concept. Air is the universal element, logically of identity. Fire and water are the elements of opposition, of difference or particularity, and the earth is the individual element or totality. Quote, "The earth is the power which kindles the other 3 elements into a process which it also sustains." The 4 elements correlate perfectly with the 4 free physical bodies and their qualitative determinations. Hegel elaborates on this on page 106. He says, "At first, it is only we who determine the body of individuality as having the moments of the solar system within itself. The next step is that the planet must posit these determinations itself. In the planet, the bodies of the solar system are no longer self-subsistent, but are predicates of a single subject, the earth. These elements are 4, arranged in the following order. Air corresponds to light. It is passive light which has sunk to the level of a moment. The elements of opposition are fire and water. Rigidity, the lunar principle, is no longer indifferent, existing by itself alone, but as an element entering into relation with an other, namely the individuality. It is an active, unstable being for self, which is in ceaseless process, and thus is liberated negativity, fire. The 3rd element corresponds to the cometary principle and is water. The 4th is the earth again. As the history of philosophy teaches us, it was the main importance of Empedocles to have been the first, definitely to grasp and distinguish these universal, basic physical forms. Lastly, we have C, the process of the elements, or meteorology, a process responsible for all the bodies on the earth and their determinations, and for all that goes on in the earth with respect to weather. For example, rain, thunderstorms, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, hurricanes, and tornadoes. 2 points. 1. Contrary to the view of our scientists, the four elements have an underlying identity. For example, air and water in the phenomenon of rain. That is, air and water are identical, so that water is transformed literally into air and vanishes, and vice versa. When it has stopped raining, the water does not remain in the atmosphere as latent. Quote, the form of vapor vanishes altogether. 2. There is also an identity and tension between fire and air. The Earth's core is the lunar or fire element, while its atmosphere is the cometary, fluidity, or air element. Hence, the Earth is a composite and reflection of the moon and comet, and their tension or interaction is responsible for volcanoes, earthquakes, and so forth.